about some conjectures, and then we're going to finish with a few problems, and then you're going to have time to work on your homework. So first of all, if a point is on the perpendicular bisector of a segment, then it is blank from the endpoints. So think about something. If you have it on the perpendicular bisector, what do you think about the endpoints? What do you think about? It's equidistant, right? It's actually going to be the same distance. So the nice thing about a perpendicular bisector, okay, is that that's basically going to be in the middle. So anywhere along the bisector, it will be equidistant from the endpoints. Okay, so let's think about the converse of that. If a point is equidistant from the endpoints of a segment, then it is on the perpendicular bisector. Okay, so that holds true as well. So if a point is equidistant from the endpoints of the segment, it has to be on the perpendicular bisector. Okay. All right, and we talked about perpendicular bisectors when we constructed them. So let's go ahead and move on to the shortest distance conjecture. This is one that you hear said quite a bit, only they don't say it's the shortest distance conjecture. But they'll say the shortest distance from a point to a line is measured along the... So what do you think? If I gave you a line, so let's just draw a line here real quick. Okay, so let's just do we'll just do a line here. Oops. Let's draw it down here maybe, or up here. There you go. And I pick a point right here. The shortest distance from that point to the line, what does it got to be? It's got to be on the perpendicular. Okay, it's got to be on the perpendicular segment. So that's why you constructed a perpendicular from a point to a line. So that's why we went through that. That is the shortest distance to that segment. And so if I was going to go ahead and put that segment in, I know that the shortest distance here has to be at a 90-degree angle. It just has to be. Okay, the angle bisector conjecture. If a point is on the bisector of the angle, what do you think its relationship is between that point and the sides on the angle? It's equidistant as well. Okay. So if a point lies on the bisector, it's going to be equidistant from the sides, just like with the perpendicular bisector of a segment. Okay. So far, so good? Alrighty then. What we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to go ahead and look and we're going to match some things up with some constructions. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this. It says for exercises 1 through 5, match each geometric construction with its diagram. Okay, so we've got diagrams down here. Now notice, how many numbers do I have up here? 5. How many constructions do I have? 6. So it's one of those you can't just pair up and say, oh, these 5 go, okay. So anyway, we're going to have to kind of watch and look a little bit. So let's see, construction of an angle bisector. Do we see the construction of an angle bisector anywhere? Now let's see what an angle bisector does. Remember, we start with a what with an angle bisector? We start with an arc. Okay, so first of all, A is probably going to be out. The rest of them kind of have arcs. Once we got to the arc, do you remember what we did? We made 2 little marks. So that means B's kind of out. C's kind of out. F's probably out. So between these 2, which one's the bisector? Why is it D and not E? Because the segments here, this is why it is B are D and not E. The segments are outside, the segments here are inside. So it's got to be D. E, remember, we didn't do those where the segments were on the inside. So that is D. Construction of a median. Now median, let's review. A median, yes, goes to the middle of the opposite side. Okay, so let me think. The middle of the opposite side. If I'm going to find the middle of something, I am finding the bisector of something. Okay? So let me think, which one of those would be the bisector of a segment? Oops. Okay, there we go. Which one's the bisector? Okay, C is a bisector, right? C is a special bisector. What type of bisector is that? Perpendicular. So actually, which one does C go with?
Oh, the construction
4.
of perpendicular.
Yeah. So there we go. We got that one out of the way. Okay. So obviously we know C and D are out. So we've got A, B, E, and F. Okay. If I'm constructing a perpendicular right here on F like I am, what do I know about this point here in relation to the two endpoints? This one is equidistant. It's smack dab in the middle, right? These two are the same. So a median goes from the vertex to the midpoint of the other side. So actually the construction of the median goes with F. There we go. So now construction of a mid-segment and construction of an altitude. We have 2 left, 3 and 5. Any ideas for 3 or 5?
3 is A. 3 is A.
3 is A. Nice job, guys. You're exactly right. A mid-segment, remember, is kind of like in the middle between a vertex and the base of a triangle. And what about construction of an altitude? An altitude, remember, meets the opposite side at a 90-degree angle. So it's going to be E. Okay? And so it meets the opposite side at a 90-degree angle. So hopefully you paid attention on those. And now we're going to look at this one, and you might actually want to do this along with me. That's why I had you pick up your compasses and your straight edge. It says construct an angle of 135 using only your compass and straight edge. So believe it or not, we're going to do this, okay, without using our protractor. So the first thing you're going to do is start with the straight line. So go ahead and use your straight edge and draw a straight line. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Okay, sorry. I'm going to start with this straight line. Now it says construct an angle of 135. So now if I think about 135, I know that 135 is really 90 plus what angle? 45. So let's construct a 90-degree angle first. Okay? So to construct a 90-degree angle, I need 2 points on the line. So I'm just going to arbitrarily pick any 2 points. I'm not going to pick them too far away because that's going to make my construction like really, really big. Okay, so I'm just going to pick them this far away. Okay? So far, so good. So now if you remember, how do I make a 90-degree angle? I'm making like a perpendicular bisector is really what I'm making. Okay, you're making a perpendicular bisector. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick 1 point. Notice how I'm going to put my compass there. I'm going to open my compass up so that it's over half of the distance between this point and this point. Now what I'm going to do, if you remember, I'm going to swing high, and then what am I going to do? Swing low. Okay. So then now I'm going to do the same thing from the other point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and come over to this other point. I'm going to leave my compass on the exact same opening. I'm going to swing high, and then I'm going to swing low, or swing low and high, doesn't matter. Okay, remember kind of the tips. If your compass is slipping, remember how I said to kind of pitch along the top? And you can even spin your paper as well. That might work. Okay, so now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to move my compass over, and I'm going to go ahead and use my straight edge to connect those. So I know that this angle is 90 degrees, and I'm only going to mark one of them. So now how do you think I can get 135? Right, I'm actually going to bisect, and I'm going to bisect this 90-degree angle on the right. That's why I didn't mark it with a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to bisect this angle on the right. So remember how we bisect. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with an arc. So I'm going to start here at this point right here. Okay, and I'm going to shrink my compass down a little bit. And I'm going to start with an arc, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swing. First of all, let's make sure I got it. Okay, so there's going to be one, and I'm going to swing all the way so that it intersects that line I just drew. Do we remember now what we do? Okay, leave the same setting. I'm going to move my compass over to each of those marks, so where the green arc intersected each of the sides. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an arc out here, just one. And then what am I going to do? Make an arc on the other one, right. So I'm going to go ahead and move that there. This one's going to be a bigger arc. Whoa, that's like a bigger one. So they should intersect. And where they intersect, that is the angle bisector. Oops, let's go ahead and move my compass off of there because I am actually done. And what am I going to do now? Make a line, and I'm going to draw that line from the light blue point here. And I'm going to go ahead and draw it all the way through. So now really what I've created is I've created 135 degrees right there. And I haven't used a protractor, I've used my straight edge and a compass. And so if I look at that, I actually have 135 degrees. I also have a 45-degree angle there as well. Questions? Alrighty, well I hope you were paying attention, because your assignment on page 161. So if you want to go ahead and turn to page 161, yes, we are in section 3-4. Okay, that is not a typo. It's on page 161, section 3-4, 1 through 9. Okay, I would probably expect a quiz tomorrow, the next day, kind of over constructions. Okay, so page 161, numbers 1 through 9.